Hi guys, my name is Marta and I'm super excited to be a part of this conference. And today I will help you to supercharge your developer experience in Angular. I will present you top 10 tools loved by Angular developers that will help you to build your apps faster for less effort, that are mainly open source projects that will increase your productivity at work. As you probably know, our life of developers is quite complicated. And we have good and bad moments, and the knowledge about proper tools you can use is crucial for us. And today I will present you tools that will make your life easier, that will make days at work full of positive feelings, and you will stop wasting your time on things that can be done automatically. Now let me introduce myself. My name is Marta Wiśniewska. I'm from Poland. I am Google developer expert in Angular and web technologies. I love open source, Angular, progressive web apps, and I co-create open source project called PWFire. If you want to start your journey with progressive web app, just check it out. I love all things about tech. I also love coffee, sport, and community. If you will have any questions after the presentation, or you want to be updated with Angular or progressive web apps, you can find me on Twitter. And before I selected the top 10, I was considering what are my tasks as a developer. And it's quite obvious that people think that developers write code. But implementation is not the only one our responsibility, because in our daily habits, we also should select proper solution for your projects. We should select proper architecture, libraries, dependencies, and so on. We also should make sure that our app will be reusable and scalable. We should take care about app performance to create fast apps, and also keep proper code style to create good quality products that will be easy to maintain in the future. So we need tools that will help you with implementation, but we also should focus on other, for example, to easier setup environment and to configure your project, tools for testing, for debugging, for building and deployment process, and also for documentation. And based on these areas, on these puzzles, I created these top 10 tools. And today I will show you how you can start with these tools and what are the main features. Let's get started with the most powerful, I think. This is Angular CLI. If you use Angular, you probably know that is the most meaningful. This is command line interface. And I told you that this is the most powerful because, as you can see, for each of these areas, you're able to use some commands that help you automate these processes. Like, for example, for implementation, you're able to use nggenerate command, ngadd, ngrun, lint. You can find some commands that will help you to build and deploy your app with specific options like ngserve, ngbuild, and ngdeploy. Some useful commands for testing, for end-to-end tests, and for running unit tests. Also for the documentation and for environment setup and configuration. And this is how you can start your work with Angular. You can use npm install command and just install Angular CLI. And because, as you can see, you can find a lot of useful commands. I highly recommend you to type nghelp, and then you will find the short description about all of these commands. And today I don't have time to describe you all of that, but I will tell you about two. And first one, this is, I think I use the most. And the second is that I have never used, but I found it when I was preparing this presentation, and it's quite interesting, and maybe it will be useful for you as well. So the first command that you probably know if you're an Angular developer is nggenerate. And on the left side, you can see elements that you're possible to create with this command, and you probably use it in your daily work. This is, for example, component, service, directive, interface, pipe, guard, module, interceptor, and enum. But I am not sure that you also have other options that are maybe not some common, like, for example, the app shell for the server-side app. You can also generate a new basic app definition in project subfolder, also service worker, web worker, a new generic library. And the second command that I want to tell you a bit is ngdoc. So I have never used it before, but it's a great option to display documentation for specific queries, specific element you want to find in Angular documentation. So let's say that you want to get some infos about component. Then you can type ngdoc component inside your console log, and then you will get browsers open in Angular documentation for this component. And the second option is when you use flag search, then you will get results for the search. So it's a really nice option if you want to find something really quickly. Let's go to the tool number 2, NX tools. I call it Angular CLI on steroids because it uses Angular CLI. It's great for monorepos fans, and you can use it with Angular, but also with other frameworks. It's toolkit for monorepo development, and it has great integration with other modern, let's say, tools, like for testing with Jest and Cypress, but also with TypeScript, Prettier, and so on. And it's built on Angular CLI, so basically it can do the same task like Angular CLI, but it's faster. Because it uses a computation cache, so it doesn't need to rebuild the same code twice. And you should try it, especially if you're a full stack developer, because you're able to share your both apps, front-end and back-end app, that are in the same repo. And this is the quick start for Angular for this tool. I highly recommend you to visit this page, then you will see the full instruction. But basically the setup is based on one command. You can type npx create NX workspace, and then you will generate a new workspace that is great for Angular with testing for end-to-end tests for your new projects. And this is how it works in practice. So let's say that we have our new project. We type this command, this npx create NX workspace. So this is a quick setup. This is installed. We have to type workspace name. You have to select frameworks. In our case, it will be Angular. You have to type application name. Set style sheet format, also default linter. And if you want to use NX Cloud, there's also an option for you. So if you run it, it will be finished. Then you will also get a link to the full tutorial and also to the documentation for Angular. And if you open the created files, then you will see two apps. This is basic Angular app and also directory for end-to-end testing. Next tool is great because one of the most common issue if you're an Angular developer is upgrading your project from one Angular to other version. And Angular Update Guide gives you a set of instructions how you can do that easily. And it considers app complexity, and package manager you use, is it npm or yarn, and also other dependencies like Angular material. And this is the official link where you can find this tool, update.angular.io. And let's take a look how it works. So let's say that we have our app in one version of Angular, then you want to update it to the 11. You have to type the app complexity. Of course, if you have more dependencies, it will be more difficult. We will select other dependencies that it is Angular material. And this is the to-do list that you have to do before updating, during the update, or after the update. And of course, if you have more dependencies, it will be more challenging and it will be longer to do that. And regarding dependencies, it's also problematic if you're talking about Angular, because one thing, this is upgrading, and the second problem, this is web performance. And this is a package that allows you to find unused, outdated dependencies in your project. So you can simply install it with npm install command with the name for this package. This is npm-check, and then you can use it typing npm-check. And this is how it works in one of the Angular projects. So we are in the workspace. You can see the package.json and with all dependencies that I use in this project. I have installed these dependencies. This is npm-check. It's checking registers and all my packages. And here you can see the result. This is the list with not used or outdated dependencies. And it's cool because you also get instructions how you can update your version, which one is the highest you should use, and also remove unnecessary dependencies that also have huge impact on, let's say, on performance and the complexity of your app. Let's talk about the tool that will help you with debugging, because sometimes it might be annoying. So this is Augury. This is a browser extension that allows you to debug and profile Angular apps. It's possible to use in Chrome and Mozilla Firefox, and you can use apps that are in debug mode because you will use developer tools. And it will present the application structure, change detection, and also some characteristics that allows you to analyze your app and find potential errors. This is how you can use it, how to add to your browser. This is the main page, augurywrangle.io. You have to add it as a regular extension for your browser, run your app in debug mode, then open developer tools, and you're ready to debug. So let's take a look. This is the official page of this tool. You have a few options to add it to your browser, a few buttons, and then you will be redirected to Chrome Web Story Viewers, Chrome. And if you need more description, this is the overview for this tool. And if you will debug your app, you will see two additional tabs in developer tools. It will be component tree and router tree. And you're able to verify all nodes inside this tree. You can check states and all properties for the selected node and selected tree. And also to check injector graph, the component hierarchy, how your components are connected. The second tab, router tree, so you're able to analyze all routes and paths inside your app, and also check metadata for each of these routes. Next tool, Storybook. It allows you to create components in isolated environment. This is CLI tool tool, kind of playground for UI components, that is a set of stories for your components. And each story represents visual state of your component. This is open source, and it's great to collaborate and to reuse components in multiple projects. And there is a great integration with the second tool I presented you today. This is NX. And you can install it automatically with the only one command that is presented on the screen. But also, if you have a problem with that, for example, because of Angular version, then you can do the manual setup. Then you have to install all dependencies. This is Storybook, but also you have to install Babel core and Babel loader. You have to add additional script to your package.json to make it easier to run it, and then create 2 configuration files. The first one, this is for JavaScript, and the second is for TypeScript. If this setup is successful, then you're ready to write stories for components. And today I will present you an example for stories for a button, and in this case you can see that this is for the button that will display emoji inside. So we will describe all visual states that we will want to apply into this button. So in this case you can see that we have the button with emoji, but also other cases that is only text and that have some actions, handle some events. And if your story is ready, then you can run it with npm run storybook command and just open it in a browser. And this is how it looks like, the user interface. So we have our created button with stories that we wrote. And Storybook allows you to interactively design, develop, and test component in isolation. And this is great if you want to prototype components, and it's learn you to don't use too many dependencies in your project. So it's really cool. The second tool allows you to build scalable and reusable components. This is Bit.dev. This is CLI tool. And for me, this is a great directory with ready-to-use components. So for example, if you're looking for components without a specific design, but with some features, you can easily reuse it and customize it on your own. This is great for cross-project integrations and easy to collaborate. You can easily share your components in different projects and also inside your team, for example. And basic option is for free, but if you need more features, then you need to pay some money. And this is the official page. So if you want to use it, you have to register, and you're able to use your GitHub account, or you can just register with regular registration with your email address. And this is the case that you're looking for a component that you want to use in your app, for example, for a spinner in Angular. Then you can use this search. You can set some filters, like, for example, your dependencies, the size you want to have in your app, and any other options. And then select solution that it will be useful in your project you want to use. And if you click on the specific solution, then you will get the overview, the source code of this component, also dependencies, and instructions how to import it with npm, yarn, or bit. So one case is that you want to use components, but also you can share your components. And in this example, I will show you how you can create collection, because we will export our components for collection, and you can collaborate with your team, but also just share it with the community, so make this collection public. And this tool works with Angular, but also with other frameworks. So you have to choose your project's environment, and then you will get the full instructions how to initialize Bit on your project. And it works a bit like a Git, and you have to initialize it, and we'll track components, track changes for the components you created. Then you have to configure your build step, set a version to control and to track your components you wrote, and then you're ready to export this component. Now it's time for tools for speed, packages and library that allows you to improve web performance of your Angular apps. And today I will focus on the ngx-loadable and ngx-quickling, but also it's good to know about Hero Loader and Guest.js. And Hero Loader provides code splitting on the components level, so it works in similar way like ngx-loadable. But Guest.js, this is data-driven prefetching. So based on users' behaviors and tracking these behaviors data, you're able to prefetch your app to improve the performance of your app. And it works with Angular, but also with any JavaScript solution and JavaScript app. So the first, ngx-loadable. Well, now in Angular, it's possible to lazy load modules. But from practical perspective, each route tends to have a lot of different commands. And we also want to apply lazy loading on the components level. And that's why we want to use ngx-loadable. This solution overrides the complex implementation of code splitting into a simple API and consists of lazy loading component that works like regular Angular component, and also loadable service that allows you to lazy load modules. And a component can be used to control the loading of one module and display different states like loading, error, timeout, and so on. And this is how you can apply it into your Angular project. So you should apply the ng-add command, ngx-loadable. You should generate the lazy loaded module with ng-generate. And here you can see how you can apply it into your code. So this is what I told you before, that this is just like a regular component in Angular. And ngx-quickling, that provides prefetching strategy for the Angular router. And let's say that users use your app, and the router uses preloading strategy and automatically downloads the lazy loaded modules that are associated with the visible links on the screen. And you can install it with npm install with the name ngx-quickling. And to use it, you have to import it in app module. And if you want to read more, this is a link to GitHub. Oops, sorry. And then you can find also a full source code. Next tool will help you improve your code style. It's basically inspired by Angular guide style. And it provides a set of tailslint rules. It is a static analysis for Angular projects that allows you to write consistent code and help you to discover potential errors. It's easy to use with Angular CLI. It supports Angular CLI, and you can use it with the only one command, ng-lint. And this is how it works in practice. So let's say that you have some code. We can see some warnings and some hints how to improve your code that will be better installed. And basically the Codelyzer can process TypeScript, template expressions, inline styles. And here you can see links and also links how to, with the explanation what should be done and what's the reference to this better style. And the last tool is great if you need documentation for your project, but you don't want to write it and create on your own, because compodoc allows you to generate the full documentation for your projects based on your file structure. It's open source and it's local, so you don't need to use external server. You can use it locally. It's possible to use via npm, and it includes search engine, so we can easily search for some queries inside this documentation. And this is how you can set up this tool with npm install command. It's good to add script to package.json and then run it with npm run compodoc. And this is the example for really awesome Pokemon's app I created. So as you can see, if you run this command, you will see inside your workspace a new folder. This is documentation with the full generated documentation for your project. And this is how it looks in a browser. So you will get the full overview of your app with components, modules, services, and so on. You will see also all dependencies with version for these dependencies, list of modules, interfaces, and also the full tree of your roots. So as you can see, with the only one command, without your effort, you're able to generate the documentation for your Angular project. Let's sum up. Today I presented you top tools that it's good to know if you're an Angular developer. I told you about Angular CLI, NGX-Dev tools, Angular update guide, npm-check, Augury, Storybook, Bit.dev, some packages to improve the speed of your apps, also about Codelyzer and compodoc. I told you only a bit about these tools, but I highly recommend you to try it and play much more if you need it. And also, if you have any tools that will be useful for Angular developers, let me know. And that's all from my side. Thanks for having me. If you have any questions, I am free to answer. And have a nice programming day full of positive feelings like this with your new tools. Thanks a lot.